curriculum book. So this is an exercise to help students practice their phonemic skills. And this is a verbal exercise. So we have instructions here that you can look over, and we will also review over before you go in and teach this to your students. But this is a verbal exercise, meaning you are saying these to your students and they were responding back verbally. So they are not going to be seeing the words. So we recommend that you incorporate this as a 1 to 2 minute practice at the start of the lesson. This can be a good segue from when you first check in with your student about how their day is going, and then you go into this verbal exercise before you go into doing sounds on the board. So this can be the first thing you do with them as they come in. So we believe that you should use phonemic awareness with all START students, so that from START 1s all the way to START 5s, and then you can decide if it should be reduced or discontinued as students develop the skill. So for START 1s, you might find that they will probably continue to need this practice every single day. But if you have, say, like a START 4 student who doesn't really show any struggle with any of these practices, then maybe you can reduce the amount that you do with them in your sessions. Okay, so you should always do phonemic awareness with your START 1 students, especially. That will be your pre-boot camp and your boot camp students, and also your START 2 students. And like I mentioned before, with your START 2 students, if you find that as you go on, they are not really struggling with this anymore, then you can reduce the amount. So this is a practice of how you can do these with your students, but we also recommend that you can pull words from the books that your students are reading. For example, if your student is reading chapter 3 of French Quarter Phantom that day, then you can go to chapter 3, find those vocabulary words, and use those for your phonemic awareness in the beginning. So that can be really helpful to have that word bank already for you. So you would usually focus on one category at a time, and I will go through these each individually, so not to worry. You would focus on each category at a time, and the categories are first letter deletion, last letter deletion, blends deletion, etc. And so once you feel that a student is doing pretty good with first letter deletion, and then you can move on to the next section. And it is okay to spend several days in one section. So if your student is struggling with first letter deletion, it's okay to continue to do that until you feel like they're at a good place before moving on to the next category. And since the exercises get harder as you go through them, when the student is proficient in one category, that is when you can move on to the next. Okay, so I will quickly model this for you guys, but we will also be having practices with each of them in breakout rooms. So we'll have an opportunity to really get to know how to do these. So first letter deletion is, like the name suggests, when you delete the first sound in a word. So say the word brush. If I were the tutor and to give it to a student, I would say, brush, don't say b. Can someone tell me what that would be?
Rush.
Anyone? Yes, rush. Thank you, Steve. How about plane? Don't say p.
Lane.
Lane.
Perfect. So you are encouraging the student to delete that first letter sound. Now, last letter deletion is when you get rid of the last letter. So, for example, blast, don't say t.
Blast.
Thank you. Bump, don't say p. Thank you, Riley. Blends deletion is when you get rid of some of the blends. This can be the front blends or the final blends. So you can say crash, don't say r. What would you say?
Cash.
Cash. Very good. How about twist, don't say w.
Tist.
Tist, yes. So you can see how it gradually gets more and more challenging as you go through the categories. Now next, moving on from the deletions, you can now substitute sounds. So you can substitute the first letter. So cold, instead of k, say s.
Sold.
Very good. How about clock, instead of k, say p.
Clock.
Very good. And you can do the same with the last letters. So hip, instead of p, say x.
X.
X, very good. How about crash, instead of sh, say ch.
Cratch.
Cratch, very good, awesome. And then last, you can replace the vowels. So fact instead of say I.
Fict.
And flag instead of say ah.
Flog.
Very good. And then once you get to a point where a student is more familiar with how to do each of these sections, you can mix it up and to increase the challenge a little bit more. Okay. Any questions about that before I go